Good morning, and thank you for joining us here at the campaign office for Amita Kutner, our candidate here in Burnaby, North Seymour. I'm also pleased to welcome to my left Suzanne de Montigny, running in New Westminster, Burnaby, and over here, not such a far right position, we're not left, not right, Françoise René de Richmond Centre. Je suis tellement heureuse d'être ici avec les candidats de cette région, près de Burnaby, et j'ai aussi commencé avec une recognition de ce territoire autochtone non-cédé. We're here on indigenous, non-ceded in territory of, are we on Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh? Here at, thank you, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and to you we raise our hands in gratitude. We are trying to focus on every day of the campaign on an aspect of our platform that hasn't been particularly noticed. And in this case, today we want to focus on artificial intelligence, automation, and the way it will impact the world of work. This is a big issue for workers right across this country. There's been some cutting-edge work done, for instance, by the Canadian Labour Congress. This is an important area where we need to be prepared. So far in this campaign, no other party's platform has even mentioned automation and artificial intelligence. There are two ways in which it can impact our society. Obviously, there is a lot of good that can come from this, from proper research, from embracing those aspects of artificial intelligence. For instance, driverless cars are now acknowledged to potentially be a way in which the ownership of cars changes. The whole attitude towards transportation shifts with driverless cars. On the other hand, we know that workers are losing jobs, being replaced by robots, and that will only increase in future. So we need to plan ahead for the future world of work. Comme Verts, nous sommes préoccupés avec toutes les menaces de l'avenir, mais aussi nous sommes à l'aise avec les opportunités et les choses de bonnes. Avec le monde de l'automatisation et l'intelligence artificielle, il y a les choses qui sont les menaces vers l'avenir de travailleurs et travailleuses partout au Canada, et nous devons faire les préparations pour ces grandes transformations de notre économie et aussi dans notre monde de travail. So I couldn't be more pleased than to tell you that we at this point are looking ahead. We are a party that, although I hate to use a car metaphor, we like to plan our platforms based on looking ahead, out across the hood of the car towards what's coming at us. We recognize other parties' platforms appear to have been written while looking in the rearview mirror. There are things coming up that we have not experienced before, many of them. As you know, we focus a lot on the climate crisis. It's coming at us. And so is a big transformation of the world of work from artificial intelligence. If we look ahead and we recognize there's a demographic shift, more of us are older Canadians, and as a result, we will need more workers to take the place of people who are retiring. At the same time, we know that artificial intelligence may be replacing workers and taking away whole categories of employment that we used to just assume. We've lost, for example, many jobs in the oil sands, not from climate action at this point, but a lot of driverless trucks are already operating. The oil sands as a sector has done a great deal to automate its workforce and shed thousands of workers. I don't hear Mr. Kenny, Premier Kenny, or others who claim to support workers being concerned when workers are laid off because of artificial intelligence and automated workers in that sector. So let me just mention two of the main planks of our platform that help prepare us for automation and artificial intelligence, and I'm going to turn it to Dr. Kutner to explain some of the things that they've brought to this platform. But first, just to say that by abolishing tuition and bringing in guaranteed livable income, those two things together do more than any other thing to prepare the Canadian population and our workforce for meaningful occupations and for cushioning the blows that will come from, at this point, what we can only begin to see as indicators of how it affects our workforce, how it shapes our lives. Now, in introducing Dr. Amita Kutner, I want to say a few things. First of all, Amita came to me maybe a year ago,
a year and a half
ago, thinking about where Amita wanted to run. Would it be one party or the other? She met with people. And it's Amita Kutner who brought to the Green Party, you better focus on artificial intelligence because it's coming. So full credit. When Amita decided to run as a Green, I immediately asked them to join our shadow cabinet as the critic on science and technology. I also want to share something very personal, and I hope Amita won't mind. We talk about climate emergencies. We talk about a future. And when Greta Thunberg said at the United Nations, "You stole my childhood. How dare you?" In a very, very real way, climate events ravaged Amita's life when her family home was washed away in a deluge event that led to a landslide in which her mother died. So there is no doubt that among us are the walking wounded of climate emergencies. I'm enormously proud and honored that Amita Kutner, who has since that first time we met, finished getting her PhD in astrophysics. Oh my God, she's smart. And studied black holes, which I like to say prepares her for Ottawa. I would now like to ask Dr. Kutner to point out how the robot tax will work, how they see the world of AI, and why the Green Party is the only party that's getting out ahead of this threat. C'est pour moi un grand honneur de donner la parole à Amita Kutner. Elle travaille dans notre cabinet de fantômes comme critique pour sciences et technologies. Et c'est Dr. Kutner qui a poussé le Parti vert de mettre sur pied les politiques pour l'avenir et pour les préparations pour le grand changement de notre monde de travail avec intelligence artificielle et l'automatisation. L'automatisation, c'est pour moi. OK, d'accord. Dr. Kutner.
Hi, yes. So I have been working for a while now on policy to do with AI, which is artificial intelligence, as well as the automation revolution that's coming up in our job sector. So our policy focuses on 5 different fronts. The most important of which is that artificial intelligence and many emerging technologies actually represent the great promise of our future, and an economy driven not by natural resources and oil and fossil fuels, but rather technology. So we absolutely will continue and must continue supporting these industries. Second is to make sure, as more and more profit and more revenue comes from automation, that we actually get that revenue to the people rather than just letting it stay in the massive corporations. So we're proposing a robot tax. For every automated job, we will take tax revenue from large corporations that is equivalent to the income tax that would have been paid for the worker. This is something that is really complicated to implement, so we will be studying exactly how to do it properly and also looking at what it means for people to create new jobs and only fill them with artificial intelligences or robots and how to get revenue from that as well. Of course, this means that small businesses could be largely impacted, so we will exempt small businesses from this tax. The next big thing, of course, is the fact that many jobs will be lost due to automation. This is something that is going to be different than any technological revolution that we've had before. It's going to come faster and is going to impact nearly every single industry. So we need to prepare. We can't let anyone fall through. We need to just transition for technology and innovation just as we do for fossil fuel workers. So in this, we are proposing our guaranteed livable income, free education, but on top of that, also tracking jobs. So we know what will be available for people to be doing after they reskill, retrain, or get their educations. This means, though, also that in reskilling and knowing where people are going, that we want to have the conversation be about meaningful work. We want to know that people have access to things that they want to do, and also a wide range of things that we know that we'll need to have in the future, such as care for each other. And working, of course, towards building our green economy. On top of this, there are 2 more really important things that come with automation and artificial intelligence. And one is to make sure that the development of these technologies stays beneficial for us, for our society, for each other, and for the world. And to do this, we need regulation. We applaud the government getting committees together on this, and we would like to see that recommendations that come out of these committees turn into true regulation and regulatory bodies. So this is what we propose to continue with and enforce. And the last thing is that we must absolutely ban fully autonomous weapons and join the global pact to do so.
C'est en français un peu? Un peu
Je peux essayer en français un peu. C'est un peu difficile, mais je vais essayer. Le monde va vraiment changer avec l'intelligence artificielle et l'automatisation des emplois. Et alors, on propose nombreuses différentes choses pour ça. Un est la garantie de... C'est quoi
Revenu annuel, oui. Oui,
sais pas tous les mots.
Et aussi pour l'abolition des frais de scolarité. Scolarité. Ouais.
Et une taxe sur les robots ou une taxe sur l'automatisation dans les grandes
Entreprises.
Oui.
C'est ça. Je pense que maintenant, nous sommes tous les quatre de nous ouverts pour les questions en anglais en français. We're more than willing and happy to answer any questions you might have, focusing today on the Green Party's bold leap into the future, anticipating what's coming instead of what we've already experienced. And I guess I'd add one thing about the difference between Greens and other party platforms and other politicians. When you hear politicians standing up and talking about jobs, I tend to find that when you drill down, they're talking about corporate profits. When you hear people talking about workers, we're talking about equity and fairness, supporting the trade unions of this country, supporting the trade union movement, hoping to see more workers unionized so that their economic clout can be protected. And also, of course, our focus is on people and making sure that the changes that are coming, whether the transformation away from fossil fuels or adapting and preparing for the big changes that will come from artificial intelligence, protect people. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from journalists that are here today.
Are there any precedents for a robot tax in the world?
As far as I know, not quite yet. There are conversations about what to do with artificial intelligence, and kind of growing inequality at the same time is the chance that kind of like so much of the revenues suddenly go to corporations as they easily get rid of workers. I don't know that people have taxed them exactly this way before. Our proposal is, I think, the beginning of the conversation because there is no set precedent.
Yeah, and when Dr. Kutner speaks of there being a conversation, there are a number of think tanks around the world that are looking at what will happen with artificial intelligence. So we can't claim it's our own idea, but we would be, as government and as Prime Minister in a Green government, we will be the first government around the world to actually prepare for this and establish. And as Dr. Kutner says, we definitely need to anticipate how we identify a job that's been replaced by a robot as opposed to other efficiencies. There is some specific work to make this, to bring it into force, but it's absolutely essential because you can see what would happen if huge swaths of our current workers are replaced with robots. We have the problem of the workers feeling like they've dropped through a trapdoor, and at the same time, we see a shrinking of revenue to the government as workers are replaced with artificial intelligence. It's definitely right now there's a very active sector of academics and think tanks that are looking at this, but a lot of political parties aren't aware of it yet at all.
I first heard about it actually from Bill Gates.
So you have to move yourself in front of the mic.
I first heard about it actually from Bill Gates. So, and that was a couple of years ago. So it's definitely an idea that's been out there for a while, even though nobody has exactly figured out how to implement it.
I will leave aside the question I have of when you hang out with Bill and
No.
But that's okay.
Yeah, I think that because it's not all robots, a lot of it has to do with how artificial intelligence will actually replace people. So in accounting, for instance, you could replace swaths of people just by having a program that has figured out how to do that. And so to actually quantify what one person would have done versus the changes that you see through what would have been technological advancement anyway. Yeah. The side question to that is, if you have enough technological advancement that you're employing less people, which is something we're already seeing, what do you do with those people anyway? Yeah. So people in my generation are facing this. There's a lack of employment when we come out of our degrees or other training programs to start with. And so it's a bigger problem. And in that sense, we need to just make sure we have adequate training for things that we do know will employ people.
Did you have any other questions? Or yes?
Are there industries or companies that you think this robot tax could apply to right now? Earlier, Ms. May mentioned, I think, driverless trucks.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's likely to apply to almost every large corporation, because the difference between AI and other technologies and kind of actually just like manufacturing was the big one before, that robots took over, and then it was clear, oh, that person got replaced by a robot, you had this increased efficiency. With AI, it's likely to replace so many different types of jobs, or even just scale back the number of people necessary, that it's hard to say which industries or which companies, because it's likely most of them.
And are they existing jobs right now? Like, is this already happening?
Yes, it's starting to happen already.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, and I'll speak to, I mean, when you think about it, I use the example of driverless trucks in the oil sands, but we're already experiencing, why are there barcodes? Increasingly, we know that the direction of grocery shopping, and some stores have already done this, you no longer have checkout clerks. Now, this is not a skilled job. This is a hard one to find another job where you don't have the skills to transfer right away to something else. But the jobs that have also high degrees of skills are also replaceable in the new world of artificial intelligence. I want to be clear that the Green Party, as we've said, is not calling out a red flag to say we have to stop AI. AI offers real benefits. What we have to do is prepare for it in a way that ensures the well-being of our population in the face of something that will absolutely transform the world of work. Mm-hmm. Yes?
So would the money be going to general revenue?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, the importance of this is to make sure that the revenue base, I mean, as you've seen in our budget, we have found a lot of sources of new revenue that will pay for things that we're bringing forward, like universal pharmacare, like abolishing tuition, and better funding our universities and trade schools and so on. So both post-secondary in terms of post-secondary university and post-secondary colleges. We absolutely need to have revenue, because as Greens see our future, the government needs to lay out more of the basic planks of our social safety net. We basically stopped building our social safety net and have been chipping away at it for decades. It was really built by a minority parliament under Lester B. Pearson, with the strong pressure of a relatively small group of NDP members of parliament back in the 60s. We can be forever grateful to that minority parliament for passing Canada Health Act, bringing in universal health care, bringing in Canada Pension Plan, bringing in unemployment insurance. That one parliament under Lester B. Pearson did a tremendous amount. We've been coasting for a long time. We haven't brought in pharmacare when we should have. We haven't brought in childcare spaces. We nearly did in 2005, and then the NDP, the Conservatives, and the Bloc ganged up to bring down another minority parliament that was actually doing good things, a Liberal minority under Paul Martin. We lost Kyoto, we lost the Kelowna Accord, we lost universal childcare. But these are things that we've talked about for a very long time. Greens want to do them. We want to work with everyone to ensure that the cost of living for Canadians comes down, that housing is affordable, that our medications are paid for, that we don't have to struggle to find childcare spaces so that parents can go to work without worrying that they have inadequate provision for early childhood education and the benefits you get from good childcare. So right across the board, we will be spending more money. We have to raise more money. The last thing we need when we're coping with artificial intelligence and how we adjust to it is a shrinking tax base, because people are replaced with robots and robots aren't paying taxes. So that's why we're getting out ahead of this issue. We hope to engage other parties in this conversation, because this is coming at our society. Whether we like it or not, we should be looking at how to benefit and maximize the positives of AI and anticipate and adapt to those things that are negatives. And I do want to underscore again Amita's point. Banning fully autonomous weapons is something that Canada has refused to do so far. So where on a lot of these issues we can say, well, the government of Canada has been proactive in funding AI and has been talking about what we might need to do in the future. They've actually, at this point, the Liberals have rejected taking action with other countries at the United Nations, recognizing that as the campaign is called ban the killer robots. That's a campaign from the same group that worked so hard to ban landmines. Mines Action Canada with the tagline, if people want to Google it, ban killer robots, is about this very important issue of banning fully autonomous weapons because they pose a very different kind of threat to peace and security.
Can I?
Yes,
may I
absolutely,
add?
jump in.
I want to add to the bit about robot tax and kind of other possibilities there. There are a couple different mechanisms, but the whole base point of it is that right now we're watching inequality rise already, and the chance is that that could completely skyrocket, and we could actually lose up to 50% of employment. So in order to take care of everyone, we need to make sure that that revenue that gets increased in large corporations comes back to the people. So we're going to be looking at every single method of doing that, and the robot tax will kind of be the beginning.
Yeah.
Would there be any kind of plan to like help train people who are coming from?
Yes, 100%. So by free education, we mean free education, reskilling, upskilling, and training programs for absolutely everyone, for everything covered. And that's really where the revenue needs to go, and where we intend it to go is to use the benefits from the automation to provide for the people who could be having to suffer from it, possibly.
Yeah. If I describe sort of when people talk about the sacrifice that comes from, for instance, giving up fossil fuels, there's no sacrifice in making sure we're actually stable and secure in a society and don't experience the worst of what the climate crisis threatens to our society globally. In the world of AI, imagine for a moment that society has sufficient revenue from the work that's being done by robots instead of people. I mean, look, we're looking far down the road. But imagine that your job options when you finish university are to think about, I'd actually like to stay home and do more with my backyard garden. I'd like to see if I can grow all the food I need and put it by for the winters. I want to see how much time I can spend at home, or I want to develop my skills as a painter. I want to spend, so that the options for life being meaningful can go up if we redefine who we are as human beings as something different from our paycheck. It's this is big picture stuff. It is what may be coming if people are replaced by automation. What do our lives look like? I'd like to think we can plan ahead, reduce the anxiety that workers will feel by being able to open up our imagination to what it looks like with a guaranteed livable income, with a tax base that supports that, and with the opportunity to decide, my life is what I want to make it. And I'll never have to make a decision that making a living is more important than having a life. The future can look very bright indeed with AI in our future, but we have to plan for it. We have to reduce the anxieties for individual workers. We have to think about it. What does it mean for workers if they are vulnerable to being replaced, whether they're a checkout clerk, a worker in a factory, the driver of a truck, or even a doctor? What does it mean if we're going to turn to automation to replace a workforce? That's worth talking about before it starts happening to us. We want to control the direction of how it happens and not just be knocked about and taken by surprise. So I'm not saying we know what the future is going to look like, but I think we should plan for it, and I know we need to think about it. And I also want to open up our imaginations to what kind of society we could have if we plan for it now. Yeah. You wanted to jump in there.
It was me, actually.
Suzanne, yes.
Hi, I'm Suzanne de Montigny. Yes, so just to give an example, when I was in my early 20s, I got a master's degree in music composition from UC San Diego, came back to Vancouver, beat the street with my feet, got lots and lots of work as a composer and as a pianist, could not make a living at it. So finally I ended up drifting into education, which ended up being a good thing. But had I had guaranteed livable income and all the stuff I needed, I would have probably continued right on doing it. So it's okay because I have enjoyed teaching all these years and now I'm writing novels, but it would have been a big help.
Well, it'd be nice when you get to Parliament. There's a very good paycheck. I think we get paid too much as MPs, but that's another story. Yeah, you wanted to add something.
I get asked pretty often what we're going to do if kind of almost all the jobs are erased. And my answer to that is always look at the world and is it what we want it to be and is it good enough? We in no way are spending the time we should taking care of each other, enjoying this amazing planet that we get to live on. And there's just so much. And I think that it is not for us to decide what any one person wants to do and enjoys doing. So it should be up to every individual to actually be able to do that and not have to worry about their own survival.
In other words, we measure the success of our country by the well-being of the people and not by the GDP.
That is correct. So are there any other questions?
If I can switch gears a little bit
Sure.
and ask you about your policy on the opioid crisis.
Oh, yes.
Overdose crisis.
Yes.
There's something that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago or a week ago that if you were to see like improvement in the overdose crisis, then you would consider lifting decriminalization of drugs. So I'm kind of wondering like what the point of that would be if we're seeing an actual improvement from decriminalization.
Yeah, I actually regret the way I answered the question because it's certainly not in our plans to reverse decriminalization. I was asked very point blank if this is a response to the emergency of the fentanyl crisis and that what's being called overdoses at this point I think are poisonings, and we have to face that. For a lot of Canadians, the idea of decriminalizing illicit drugs is a big ask. A lot of Canadians who haven't been touched by the crisis don't understand necessarily how severe it is, that it's actually already affecting life expectancy for Canada as a whole. So it is a national health crisis. So the question came back, well, if that's the rationale, would you reevaluate? And we're always prepared to reevaluate. We want to put policies forward on every possible aspect of our society, and we're always open to looking at the evidence. My firm belief is that the evidence is very strong that treating drug addiction as a criminal justice issue is the wrong way to go, that addiction and the problem of opioids and other illicit drugs is largely mental health and addiction where you need help, where your frame of reference is, this is public health. This isn't criminal justice. So we would not be legalizing, and the case of cannabis is a very different situation where legalization made sense. We're not legalizing illicit drugs. We're decriminalizing so that those people who are struggling with drug addiction can get help without exposing themselves to a jail term or to criminal justice when what they really need is mental health supports, addiction counseling, and being able to get out of and live past the horrors of their drug addiction to break free and enjoy life again. That needs mental health supports, counseling for addiction, not the criminal justice system. So I appreciate you asking the question because as in any discussion where you're open to nuance, in the current political climate, you will be bashed about. So, but I'm afraid I keep being open to nuance. I definitely are happy to re-examine and reevaluate any of our plans. It does not mean we have any intention of reversing decriminalization once we bring it in.
Sure.
Yes.
Can you answer that one, sorry, in français?
Oui, en français, je veux dire que il y a eu une question dans notre conférence de presse à Winnipeg. Il y a maintenant avec une campagne de 40 jours, j'ai oublié qu'est-ce que c'est le jour, mais nous avons eu une conférence de presse à Winnipeg au sujet de notre politique pour décriminaliser les drogues maintenant. Maintenant, nous sommes dans une crise de santé publique. On doit faire les choses pour protéger les vies de nos enfants, nos voisins, membres de notre famille. C'est vraiment proche. Plusieurs des Canadiens à cause de l'impact des opioïdes puis aussi de fentanyl. Et c'est une question de toxologie, pas seulement d'un système de justice criminelle. C'est vraiment une crise de santé publique. Et pour faire face à ça, on doit décriminaliser les drogues. Mais en réponse d'une question d'un journaliste à Winnipeg, je suis désolée que j'ai ouvert une autre controverse. Ce n'est pas notre intention, pas du tout, de changer notre position, notre politique vers les drogues, mais nous sommes toujours ouvertes d'une évaluation des recherches, de vérifier que l'approche va continuer dans notre politique actuellement. Il n'y a pas une seule intention de faire un changement. Après, nous avons mis sur pied un système décriminalisé. Nous n'avons pas actuellement l'intention de changer cette politique. On doit seulement toujours rester ouverte vers les faits, les preuves, les recherches pour chaque de nos politiques. Le Parti vert reste sur l'évidence, reste sur la science. Tous nos politiques sont basées, racinées dans la science et dans les preuves. Merci. I hope that was. Thank you again. Merci. Est-ce qu'il y a des autres questions? Well, merci beaucoup. Thank you all for being here. Haishka, Siam, we appreciate your willingness to come out and meet some of our fantastic candidates from this area. I'm very proud of our full slate of 338 candidates, all of whom have life experience that will be very, very well received in the Parliament of Canada, will make a difference in our Parliament, and will improve the quality of the discourse, the thoughtfulness of the interventions, and we all take a pledge to work for our constituents and to conduct ourselves with respect towards all living beings, including political opponents. Thank you very much. I brought the pledge for all of you to sign. Thanks so much.